Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. This video is about the bitch moves of the global PSYOP units. There's covert sexual control going on, and people have known that for a long time because of the porn. They used to say that organized crime was involved in the porn industry. To some degree they are, they were, what have you. They used to say that Hollywood turns people out into porn stars. And then they started saying, well, Hollywood and the CIA has a certain relationship. And when we look into the various claims, we see Operation Mockingbird. We see the relationship between the military and Hollywood, and we see that that's the case. Sound connections. And the CIA is a military intelligence agency, right? The central intelligence agency. And a lot of these intelligence agencies are under the Department of Defense, so there's all kinds of groups that organize for effect. And their members tend to be in secret societies, like the Freemasons, Skull and Bones, what have you. We see that with the gangs in California, and they're filming right now. We see that, they see with the gangs in California that they wear red, blue, and white biker gangs in hate groups historically to somebody used to wear white rags. So there's the red, white, and blue, and the white for the Klan and for nothing else. So we have to ask ourselves, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this when in the Bible, for example, it says, greater love has none than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friend? So who's the most respectable of your friends and family? People who have the character to lay down their life for God. People that would die for you for the right reasons, if that was the right thing to do. So as I look back at all the clashes I had, hanging out with the streets, the gang brawl at Oak Ridge Mall, where my pinky knuckle got pushed back, and it's still pushed back to this day. I didn't go to the hospital that day, and part of it was because they were using technology on me to fuck with my head. Okay, during the brawl, another crew and some other people teamed up with a few members of my crew, and we took on another gang at the mall, and there was a brawl. And for whatever reason, the word mall rhymes with brawl. And that mall has significance to me, and I can't really go into that in this video. I want to keep this short. It's out of the scope of this video. So, during the fight, somebody got stabbed in the chest. The knife went just a couple inches away from their heart. Somebody on my side from another crew. And, the knife eventually fell on the ground. I didn't see the person get stabbed. I didn't see the knife fall on the ground. I heard something fall on the ground, and that almost certainly was the knife. And the person who got stabbed, those paramedics standing outside there as if they knew there was going to be a brawl. They were just hanging out there. There was like a target in the parking lot, in the parking garage, and you could see the target. At that time, I don't know about now, it's been a while since I've been there. It was like, there's like it's like glass that you look through, it's like plexiglass or whatever, it's not glass that's easy to break, and you can look through and see the people inside the target, and there was paramedics standing there. And so the person walks up to the paramedics, and during this, I'm like, why is this guy walking up to the paramedics? Are you like telling them, hey guys, we're in a fight or something? I didn't know why he was walking up. Turns out he was stabbed, and the knife almost hit his heart. It almost killed him. And so during that, one of the members of my crew was kind of struggling with a shorter person from the other side, and I go up there, and I start, because the person from my crew was trying to hit him with like the bottom of his fists, right, like a speed bag or something, right, because he didn't want to injure his hand, and that's also very suspicious, right? That was out of that person's character. So during the chaos, I make my way over there, and there's people everywhere. It's hard to kind of intervene, right? So I have to strike at a very awkward angle, and I struck him like at least 3 times back to back. Bow! I stick him, stick, and my pinky knuckle swells up. And during it, I show him it swells up like it gets deformed, and that pushes out 3 inches or so. Because during that time, I was no longer practicing martial arts. I had gotten in the car accident. I wasn't in good shape. There was a knife in my pocket. I didn't use it. Okay, didn't feel the need to use it, and at the beginning of this, there was another guy. The guy who stabbed him was looking dead at me. I'm looking at him, my hands in my pocket, and he's like, yeah, I know how you feel. Me and you, we see things the same way. He said something like this. And I don't know why he said that, but I'm pretty sure it had to do with him knowing that I had my hand on the knife. And he had, he was ready to grab his knife. So when everyone rushed to each other, okay, and when that moment broke, my adrenaline was pumping. You can imagine you'd be a little bit alarmed. I mean, I was trying to talk people out of it. I'm like, look, you're outnumbered. Just leave. No one's going to blame you for leaving. My side is significantly physically bigger than their side, and I tried to talk them out of it. Some people on my side were mad at me because we had agreed not to say anything, to kind of treat it like a gangster situation and just rush in, right? And just handle business. But instead, I had said, okay, just leave, right? And one of them tried to reach out to me. He's like, do you know so-and-so from Seven Trees, da-da-da-da-da? And then one of the people on the other crew was like, look, you're not going to believe me, but they're on your side. If you want, we're not going to blame you if you go take their side. And that to this day saddens me. I regret having taken part in that, but I'm very proud of myself that I tried to defuse it. I tried to, because we originally went there because some guys were going to jump some guy at the mall, and we were going to go there and say, it's a bad idea, we got his back, and then just diffuse the situation. When we get there, the guys are standing in the parking garage waiting for him. And he says, yeah, they're in the parking garage right now. The guy they're going to jump was working that day, right? And he wasn't in the brawl. So we go out there, and the guys in the other crew owed him a favor. So we go out there, and we're standing there, and there's like, maybe 15 of us. Maybe there's like 8 of them, right? And we're standing staring at each other, right? And, I'm with some straight gangsters, right? Standing there, you could tell they're gangsters, okay? And you could tell that, that I'm a very serious guy. He looked at the group and he said, he knew that I was the most deadly of them, okay? And then I had my hand on the knife. And I'm like, okay, if this shit, he could tell that I had a certain, it's like when you're on the yard in the pen, right? I've never been to the pen. I've been to a jail, and there's similarities there. You can feel the tension in the air when something's going to go down, right? So there was that tension, and there's a certain deadly tension resonated for me, and he had a certain way about him, like he was acting, he was a gangster Vietnamese guy or something, he was Asian of some sort, and he had this certain way about him that he was, not fucking around, right? And he could tell that I had this certain deadly way around me too, because I was like, look, if this kicks off right now, and it doesn't go the way I want, I'm going to stab people up real bad. You know what I'm saying? So he looked at me and he was like, okay. And I'm the one doing the talking. So they were confused about who was in charge. I wasn't in charge of everybody there. People on my side would have listened to me. The other crew, they would not have listened to me. But if those guys walked away, that would have de-escalated. So I was like, look, the only way this is going to be solved is you walk away right now. You don't have much time now. I'm trying to convince them. Like, you're outnumbered. Just take off. You know what I'm saying? And it ends up getting kicked off. So that's how my pinky finger got injured. So anyway, after that brawl, I go to a house where they're friends with my older brother. I'm lightweight friends with them, and I see different people there. I'm gonna go ahead and keep the names out of this, right? And it's a place where some MMA fighters also hang out there, from AKA Gym, okay? And so one of these guys, he's not an MMA fighter. He's a white dude, and he's like, okay, my pinky knuckles swole up. The other member of my crew, he wanted to, we agreed not to speak on this thing, but this issue is much bigger than the gang issues, and it's been a long time, right? So I decided to speak on this. So he was denying that anything went down. He was like, look, we're not supposed to speak on that. And he said that in front of me, in front of the other guy, so he heard him, right? He heard that the guy in my crew had said, we're not supposed to talk about that. Okay, because I'm like, well, what the fuck you mean? We just got in a brawl, da-da-da, I'm trying to kick the ballistics. People talk about stuff like that at that place, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pointing to my finger. My finger, it's like, the knuckle is like protruding in a way because it like turned into mush lightweight, right? Maybe it was technology or something. I've never seen someone else's knuckle like that. It was like 3 or 4 inches sticking out, right, in a weird angle. Like it looked kind of, it was deformed looking. And the guy was like, I don't see nothing. Immediately, I knew the MMA fighters, their networks, Western culture, they were on some bitch shit. At that moment, I was really committed. I'm like, look, these guys aren't going to give me credit, like, no matter what. I just got in a brawl with them all. They never see no part of no gangster shit like that. And I done been in the thick of it. You see what I'm saying? In a very serious, someone almost got killed in that brawl. Someone got stabbed right by their heart. You see what I'm saying? and we put it down and shit. People are getting cracked on the ground, getting stomped out, so on and so forth. I'm like, man, what the fuck? You see what I'm saying? Not gonna give me my credit. I'm mad. I'm heated because I knew to some degree those people doubted that I'm a banger. Right? I done brought Crips through there. I done brought motherfucking, thugs and family members of gangsters through there. I done brought, been tatted up with motherfuckers there and so on. They doubted my gangster to some degree, and that kind of irked me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at them or something. Just telling the story. And so, so that, okay, so, yeah, so, anyway, so I was saying that there's these PSYOP units that are they're doing things like that, and they're telling people, and they're extending network. That guy probably didn't answer the CIA directly or something, right? But they spread a sentiment in the community where they're saying, hey, don't give these guys their credits, right? That you cripple the crip who has heart, and you try to make him unpopular. That was what they were told to do. So I'm this righteous person and all this, and I'm trying to explain to them what had went down, with good intentions and so on and so forth. And so, as we're talking about mind, body, soul, and spirit, when we look back at these stories, and we look back at it for decades, and we tell other people these stories, it's the people who have character in a way that goes beyond what my boarding school principal would have said. He looked at it in terms of, crest wearing, Freemasonic bullshit, where I look at it in terms of who has heart and reality, right? Not the guy who conforms and keeps his secret society oath. The guy, and I'm not in any secret society. I don't respect secret societies. Okay, it's in the Bible, and the Bible's right about this. It says, greater love has none than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. I've put my heart with God, that I'm willing to die for God. And they're not. They're not willing to die for God. And I have greater love. Like in the streets, they say, show me love. That's love right there. I got love for, Nutty Block. I got love for 7 Trees. It's like when they say things like this, right? It's love is a serious part of a character. That's a real motherfucker. That's a stand-up motherfucker. That guy's down, right? He'll stand with you, right? And I stand with God Almighty. So, as we see that people who are in the governing class, historically they wore wigs. They thought they're better than everyone else. They talk down to people. They try to snob them. Okay. They talk about the pecking order, and they pick on the vulnerable and the poor and the immigrants. And they're setting the stage for them to get raped on the way here, and they get sexually exploited when they get here. They're getting raped at every turn. And kids are getting raped in their churches. They did so many bitch moves. They think they can look good? And there's also scientific racism going on in terms of breeding. Part of the reason why they crippled me at 2 different points in my life and set up the stage for the brawl at the mall. The brawl at the mall was something that PSYOP units manipulated. I have no doubt in my mind, no doubt. Okay? And if, someone tried to stab me there, I would have stabbed, fought to the death, I would have killed him. You see what I'm saying? Because PSYOP units had set that up. Now there's at least three different crews there, and some down-ass motherfuckers that, I knew. And I hate to use the word down because I'm going up, When I mean that at face value, I don't speak in code. So now let's look at this thing. Point number 1. No one in history, especially in America, and I say that because of the disrespect from the PSYOP units. I know some aren't thrilled about their job, but, I've got to answer what they're doing in various ways. No one in history, especially in America, has done anything comparable to my top martial arts challenge, and I did it through sabotage. They couldn't do what I've done. Point number 2, the vast majority of black belts and, Olympic athletes, etc., gang members, okay, they have laughable skills when it comes to outdoor combat, right? Fighting in a field like warriors have done for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, really. They're not that good at it. I am. Because God set me apart as a top martial arts. They're not good at outdoor sparring or fighting with weapons, daggers, knives, axes, swords, lances, spears. They're not good with that. I am. Point number 3. And don't forget also that includes the eye gouges, the neck strikes, the spine strikes, the groin strikes, the knee strikes, breaking someone's arm. They don't know nothing about that kind of extreme, violent combat. I do. The vast majority. And those who do know something about it, they would lose against me. And on top of that, greater than fighting skills is the heart to stand with God. It's only when everyone has the heart to stand with God, then we compare the fighting skills. If you don't have the heart to obey God through me, to obey God, then you lose the comparison immediately. Greater love has none than this. And God is love. God is love. God is a warrior. Exodus 15:3. God is love, and greater love has none than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. John 11:16. Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." Matthew 26:35. But Peter declared, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all the other disciples said the same. Are they frat guys talking to each other? Or are they talking to the Son of God, to be right with God? Greater love has none than this, than to lay down one's life for God. The greatest commandment, love God with all your heart and all your being. So I couple that with my top martial arts challenge, and the gap is great. Did they win their silly and immature image game? No. They knew it was wrong. The white, the Jew, the LGBT, the token minority, they didn't come out lovely in this. The Masons, the military, they didn't come out lovely. It was a mistake. And just like my philosophy was better than them then, it's better than them now. And they should listen to me and look to me for the answer. I'm the only way they're going to make anywhere near a wise decision. If they ignore my advice and they add vice instead, they're going to have made the most regrettable decision to the extreme. They need to mitigate. So point number 3, it doesn't take a genius to see that I am naturally faster, smarter, and more focused than others. My ability to block and dodge is greater. Sky walking, sky dodging, sky striking, sky blocking. Through sabotage, I made the greatest martial art challenge in human history and triumphed. Through extreme sabotage. I've been in very serious situations. Point number 4. I have never even heard of anyone going out like a bitch more than the people who are ordering the PSYOP units, right? The global governing class, and he happens to be in America. Okay, I've never heard of anyone who went out like a bitch more than that. You thought it was a good idea to persecute the Son of God, the top martial arts, to try to look tougher than him? Have people in the military and gangs who work out who are bigger and stronger than I was, and I am really, some of these guys bench press like 300, 400 pounds or whatever. To try to make it seem like that their brute force is all that matters. When I would have outmaneuvered them in no time, flat stabbed them in the neck 10 times, they're dead, done. I'm a straight killer. You know what I'm saying? I am the top martial arts ever possible. And I hung out with gangsters, what these days at least is considered the old school. Your A game isn't enough. I'll stab you up dead, boom, gone, boom. If you had a gun, smack you in the head with a machete before you can shoot straight, maybe wing my arm, boom, smack you 10 times in the head, you're done, boom, bang, done. I'm the type of guy who could bring a knife to a gunfight and win. And then people put their money on me. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody more than the disrespect God intended. I'm not trying to promote gang culture or violence. I'm trying to tell you all, with my heart, with my being, that what matters is character. Martial arts is about building character. Martial artists, when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, when it comes to mind, body, soul, and spirit combat, the pinnacle of martial arts, they fought better than everyone else. Royal African Falcon martial arts, the bell that rings the loudest. And it's about character. Without that character, to be morally precise, what is martial arts? And you got to put God first. I know a lot of martial artists aren't monotheistic, but that is the pinnacle of it. And if you look at Buddhism very carefully, and there's a story where Buddha was asked, if there's a God, and he was silent. He was asked, is there a God? He was silent. He did not want to say that there isn't a God, because he didn't want to disrespect the Royal African Falcon martial art order that knew better about God and religion than he does. He was a cult person, as far as anyone could tell, who was trying to control things on behalf of the global cult movement. Look at the time period. Buddha wasn't in 10,000 BC or something. It was not that long before Christ on the timeline, when cults were spreading out, having been influenced by Egypt, and coming up with cult systems to govern people. Keep in mind, people had the nerve to run their mouths. I'm a grown man. They ran their mouth, right? When we look at the issues at stake here, I had to trample their spirit. I had to trample the source of their spirit and their souls and their family souls because they're running their mouth against Christ. Even if I was someone else, I would have to retaliate because I'm the Son of God. And when they insult God and the Son of God, there must be consequences. And I don't believe in senseless violence. Again, I want to take this time to say that I want the war in Ukraine to stop. I want people to stop doing terrorist attacks. I want people to scramble peacefully for the war on poverty plan. People die anyway. They get hurt all the time. That's not accomplishing anything. If you do surgical strikes on mass murderers, I'm not going to disapprove it. You do random terrorist attacks on Jews and Muslims, I disapprove of it. And anyone else, just the average person. If you do a random terrorist attack on a police officer, I disapprove of it. We need to scramble for the war on poverty plan. Cutting food stamps was not cool. If Donald Trump had a strong economic plan, and I try to avoid insulting him, mind you, as a matter of strategy, as a matter of logic, if he had a sound economic plan, he wouldn't be cutting food stamps. They wouldn't be cutting things like Job Corps without something else. One thing to say Job Corps isn't effective and efficient. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. But to not have an alternate plan is ridiculous. Same thing with food stamps. What is your plan to feed the poor in America and abroad? To the governing class, to the American government, what's your plan? Donald Trump said he was going to do something about homelessness. Why isn't he doing it? It's June now. It's been months. You sign all kinds of executive orders because he knows that those tax cuts for the rich and the plans he has, increasing the military spending, which escalates the Cold War with China and Russia and North Korea, he knows it's not wise. There's ways to help out people in the military without increasing the military budget. And veterans, it's called the War on Poverty Plan. It's called making their country a better place. It's called romantic justice. Donald Trump's way forward, with all due respect, if any is due to Donald Trump, is not the way forward. It is the way backwards and down. And I went way over time here in this video. And I urge you all you in the governing class, to stop disassociating, stop being childish and baby-like and immature, stop being traitors to God and your families, stop being sissies and frat boy-like people, stop being girly men, and man up and do what's right. When your flesh dies, that's when the die is cast. There's still time for you to scramble and to either obey God through me or to at least mitigate your sins. Thank you.